Hello everyone, welcome to one more podcast. Today I have a guest, Niharika, who is working in Qualcomm. I had this thing in mind to interview someone from industry so that they can give their insight. How is it like to work in a semiconductor based companies and then working environment, what kind of technology they use. Yeah, it will be interesting for anyone to know about this. So when I asked Niharika, she was willing to join the podcast and then share her experience. So Niharika, welcome to the show.
Hi, Naveen. This is my first podcast, so it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, Niharika, so I will not be starting with the typical questions like how was your first day, etc. But since you have already dealt with Qualcomm, I will come to these questions later. But how do you feel as an employee of Qualcomm?
As an employee, as an engineer at Qualcomm, I think there's a sense of pride attached to it. Like whenever we were in our fourth year, Qualcomm is one company which everybody would love to get placed in. This was one of those dream. I would not say dream, but this was one of those companies, core companies, which every electronics and communication student would like to get into. So I think there's a sense of pride attached to it, and also the kind of work we can relate to the work that we're doing. We get to apply what we had learned in engineering, so that part is really nice.
Okay, you told that you started as an intern, right? So how did that opportunity come to you?
Internship recruitment was also through campus only. So initially there was an online test. We had to give a test with aptitude and the technical questions. After that, there was an interview. The interview was not on campus. It was in a women's conference in Bangalore. So we gave the interview there, and then we got the call letter for the internship.
So you mean the test happened in your college?
Yes, the test was online. It did not happen in the campus as such. We could take it from anywhere. It was a remote test.
Right. So then out of then only the 10 candidates were called and then actual interview happened there.
Yes, yes, it was that way.
Okay, good to know. And then how many were selected uh, to the intern's position?
Okay, out of the 10 people, I got selected. But after that, they did another drive for the computer science students and also for electronics and communication separately. So from there, three of my batchmates got selected from EC, and I think five or six of them from computer science got selected. So that was a full-time recruitment. For internship, only one person got selected.
That's good to know. Uh, then how you used to manage? I think you, as you mentioned, it was in the final semester of your graduation.
Right.
So though you had to manage studies and then internship also. Like, how did you do that?
Right, that was a bit hectic. I think the 6 months of internship which I did, those 6 months were the most productive months of my complete engineering, because that time I used to do a project, the final year project at college also, and also we had to do work 5 days in company, and we had to travel and attend classes on Saturday. So yeah, we were able to do everything because of the support. I think my project mates were really supportive, so they handled most of the documentation and stuff in college. So that way we were able to do it.
Great. So how long was this internship duration?
Internship was for 6 months from Jan to June.
Okay. Uh, like, what was your impression on Qualcomm? Like when, and in the typical sense, the first day of your internship.
So before I joined, before I reported as an intern, I used to search on Quora on how the culture in Qualcomm will be, because since it's a core company, I was not really confident about my skills, and I was really scared to talk to seniors. I did not know how to walk up to them and ask my questions, because I did not know much about it. Everything was new to me. So what I had read also came true. I mean, I saw that happening also. People in Qualcomm are really approachable. They're friendly, and they are willing to share their knowledge. So that's what happened on my first day also. We were allocated a mentor after our orientation. So the mentor was able to guide me through everything, even to get into the team, to understand the team, and even to bond with the team members. For everything, I think the mentor was a major support.
Okay. So what was the project you were working on, and then some tools and technologies? Yeah, please.
So I was into the QDSP team in Qualcomm. So QDSP is the digital signal processor of the Snapdragon. So this DSP finally goes into the Snapdragon. The team was basically QDSP, and then inside that, I was into the power prediction project. So what we used to do was use machine learning to predict the power on workloads. So I was in the back end of that project. I got a bit of exposure to machine learning, but I was not completely into the algorithm side of it. I was doing the data collection for the training part. So as you know, the machine learning model will have a training and a testing part. So we first train the machine learning model, and then you can use your workloads to give it as an input and get the output. So the training part requires a lot of data. So the data collection in industries is a big process. So they allocate people specifically to collect the data. That's what I was doing. So I was in the backend to collect the data for the model.
Okay. And then what kind of software tools you used to use?
It was mostly Python for automation, and then we used Synopsys tools for simulation, the RTL simulation, and the waveform generation. So for everything, we had tools, and also there are some internal Qualcomm tools for all those things that are provided as a wrapper to us. So there are separate teams which develop wrappers. So they give us these wrappers, and we'll be able to use them as a user.
Okay. I mean, how was learning Python? Was that easy or was it difficult or what kind of, I mean, your level of interaction with the Python, like was it complex or moderate one?
For me, I think the kind of problem statements I was given was not difficult. It was manageable by even by a beginner, because I was a beginner in Python when I joined as an intern, and I was able to pick up things.
Right.
I think Stack Overflow came really handy in that. I used to write the basic structure of the code, and I always used to optimize it using Stack Overflow. And in debugging, I think it was of major help. I did not formally learn Python from the beginning. What I did was I started directly with the problem statement, and then I started writing it. And also teammates, obviously, my mentor was helping me a lot in that, because initially writing code is not difficult. Understanding the requirement and writing the edge cases for every thing is difficult, because you will not know what will be the edge cases when you are new to the project. So that part, I think the teammates were really helpful in that.
Okay. And you spoke of QDSP. Can you explain like the need of QDSP in simple terms, layman language? Like where does it sits in the mobile or maybe something about it?
Okay,
The
so the
kids robot.
DSP,
Yeah.
yes, so DSP team actually does the digital signal processor and also the neural signal processor. So if you want to play a game, let's say a video game, then you need signal processing to happen. You need video signal processing. You need camera. Camera also needs a
Right.
signal processing. So for all these to work, you need a DSP in the processor. Just like you have the CPU, uh, you will have DSPs in the Snapdragon. So
Right. Okay. Uh, right. So like how big was your team?
the team was of 12 members, and it is slowly expanding now. I think it is 15 or 16 members team now.
Okay. And then how many interns were there? Like maybe from other colleges?
So it was a big batch. I think it was around 100 to 150 interns.
Okay. And then from in your team, you were the only intern?
Yeah. So every team gets one. Usually it is one intern in a team. Yeah, that's how it is.
Okay. Fine. And then like how was the interaction with the seniors or could be your project lead? Like were they approachable or were they too busy in their work? How was it?
I would say both. They were very approachable, and at the same time, they were busy. So Qualcomm has meetings all the time. So they schedule meetings every half an hour. They hardly get a break. If they are in the manager level, it's very difficult to get their time. But whenever they had time, they were always very sweet enough to give me some time to explain, so that I can understand better. And also that is also why they allocate mentors, and they allocate some extra time from the mentor side for us to learn, so that the onboarding process becomes easier, and then we can easily grow into the team. So they were really helpful, and it's like only the it's not like they have a separate chamber or anything. They also sit with us in cubicles, so we could easily interact. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking about QDSP, like please explain that in layman terms so that the viewer gets to know.
Okay. So picking cues from your last question, I think DSP is used everywhere. For example, this call that we are having, a call on Skype, it also uses DSP, because when you record a video, you need to do image processing to put it in the right format. And when you record audio, you need to do echo cancellation. You need to remove the noise. So all these things are done by the digital signal processor. So when you embed that inside the Snapdragon, that is ultimately used by the apps in your phone to do all these things.
Okay. I think the QDSP is Qualcomm proprietary. It's not taken from vendor, I think. Do you have any information on that?
Sorry, I'm not completely aware of that. Yeah, maybe it is
No.
the IP from Qualcomm. Yes.
Yeah. So what Qualcomm does, they take a lot of IPs, especially from the Synopsys, like the standard ones, like say USB, PCIe. So they take a lot of IPs and they make a wrapper around it. So these days, Qualcomm only making not into much of the IP development. Uh, they are, as a company of SoC, they uh, integrate a lot of IPs are taken from the third-party vendors and they make their SoC. I think coming from the name QDSP, I think it's Qualcomm proprietary only. Yeah. Uh,
Right.
okay. So and then like you used to run some simulations using the Synopsys tools.
Right. We used to run RTL simulations mainly for the power project that we were doing because we used to run
Okay.
the apps
And
on
then
the RTL.
okay. And then where this Python scripts come into picture, like how
That
Python
was
script interact with RTL, or like
that
any
was
other tool.
majorly for the automation purpose, and also when you do daily regressions, like when so this basically the team that I was in was into power and performance verification. So in
Mhm.
verification, they do daily regressions. So the regression is basically to test the performance on a day-to-day basis, how the performance is changing with the
Mhm.
features that you're putting in daily. So there are RTL changes that happen daily from the design team. So they put in some change, and the performance team needs to see the effect of that change on the
Okay.
numbers. So is the change in the RTL affecting a certain performance parameter? So that is what they need to look at. So there we need to use Python scripts because we have a lot of applications, a lot of test cases to run. So
Mhm.
without scripts and automation, you'll not be able to run it on a daily basis with in such a huge scale. So that's where Python comes in.
Right. Okay. So you used to collect a lot of data in the Python.
Right, yes.
Okay. And then how long were those regressions?
The regressions usually run overnight. It depends on the workload. It depends on the test case that you're running.
Mhm.
But it's usually overnight. We used to run around 1,000 test cases uh,
Okay.
for each core. So there are multiple cores in a DSP. So there are multiple releases that happen. Like each core caters to a different application. For example, there is one audio core that caters separately to the audio applications. And if there
Mhm.
is an automobile application, there is a separate code that caters to it.
Mhm.
So a team handles all kinds of cores.
Right. But
Uh,
you were not. But it was not your job to look into the issues, right? But if
No,
there is
no, I
anything
was
from the
not into
Python side,
performance verification.
yeah.
Yes, yes. The team was basically performance verification team, but I was doing the data collection for the power. So the team was slowly branching out into power also. So this was a new machine learning project that the team was working on. So it was basically a core performance team, and it was branching out into power side.
Okay. Machine learning and AI are the buzzwords.
Right.
Like how did you learn those things?
So as I said earlier, I was not working on the machine learning algorithm part. I have a little exposure because of the back end part, but yeah, I was not really into the front end machine learning. But I think again, to learn machine learning, you have to do a lot of hands-on. It's more of a research. Learning the algorithms is one thing, so that can happen through online courses. But if you want to really build a model, it depends a lot on the data cleaning, the data pre-processing part, and also you need to tweak a certain parameters in the data to fit into the model. So there is a lot of thing that happens which is very project specific, that you cannot learn in any other way other than doing the project itself. That's what I understood.
Yeah, there are a lot of online courses on the machine learning. Had you subscribed to any of them?
So I did a machine learning course on Coursera, I remember, and also there is one crash course by Google. I cannot recall the exact name, but there is one
Right.
12 module crash course, I think. So yeah, they were helpful to understand the overview of the project. But like I
Mhm.
said, again, you will use these things depending on the data that you have, and depending on the application, depending on the accuracy requirements of the model. So those trade-offs are taken into account while using these algorithms.
Okay. Okay. And then was it challenging learning the Python and then the overall technical environment? I
Uh,
mean, yeah, the technology
yes.
behind it.
So initially, I was having difficulty in understanding how the environment works as such and why we are doing certain things. So every tool that used to come to us was kind of a wrapper,
Right.
and we did not have much visibility into the tool itself.
Mhm.
So that part, to understand that, I was usually speaking to my teammates, and I was able to get some info on that. And like why it becomes hard is if you have to debug something, you need to understand what is happening in the first place. So that is where the team members and the mentors used to help a lot. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think because of the kind of support, it's all teamwork. Even though they allocate a work to you in Qualcomm, they never expect you to complete on your own. In case you're stuck, they're always there to help, and they don't blame you for getting stuck. So yeah, they understand the issue, and if it's a genuine issue, they always try to help.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, being a fresher, some sort of support is always needed, especially when we are get stuck, we get into a lot of panic.
Right.
So, I mean, any of such things happen to you?
Initially, during my internship, I think during my full time, I was completely used to the environment, so that was not happening. But when I joined as an intern in the beginning, first 2 months, when I was given the requirement to even start writing the code, I used to be very anxious because I was always worried, what if I don't get the output? What if I don't
Okay.
get the desired?
Right.
If I were not able to optimize. So I remember my code was taking the Python code, which I initially wrote, was taking 4 minutes to execute. 4 minutes for a Python code is really long. So those
Oh,
things, yeah, I was a bit anxious at that point, but I think I got help to resolve those things.
true. Uh, as you spoke about conversion from intern to a full time, like how did that happen? Was that smooth, or did you had any interview when you were about to finish the internship?
No, it was mostly based on performance. That's what we were told. Some of my fellow interns already had the offer for full time, but I think it depended on the college. So for us, it was just internship. For us, I think it was not difficult. Most of us got converted. That's what I remember in my batch. Unless they wanted a team change or they wanted to do something else or masters. Apart from that, I think almost of the interns got converted. So that process is really smooth, and the teammates will be giving a feedback on the work that we do. It mostly depends on how your conduct in the internship.
Okay. At the transition moment, did you try any other companies in the similar level?
No, actually, I thought 6 months is too short for Qualcomm,
Mhm.
so I wanted to stay in the team for a longer period. I wanted to learn more, so I
Right.
thought it was a really exciting opportunity. So I didn't want to leave at that point. So I was willing to continue there only.
Okay, that's good to know. So, like you spoke of some Python programming and then technical environment about that. That was very interesting to know. I mean, if anyone who wants to know like what is happening inside the Qualcomm in terms of the technical aspects, this is a good insight. But apart from that, like what were the opportunities Qualcomm had, opportunities you had to explore yourself?
Okay, so Qualcomm also provides this industrial integrated MTech program. So there are universities like IIT Madras and BITS Pilani. They offer this industrial MTech program. So you can pursue your masters alongside your work. You have to give a written test, and then but the program is a bit longer than usual. If you do an MTech outside, it is going to take 2 years. That is 1 year of study plus 1 year of internship. But if you do it along with your work, it is going to take 3 to 3.5 years because the courses are spread in such a way that you can manage the time with your work. So it is very industry friendly, and yeah, I think that is a good opportunity for those who want to learn as well as they don't want to lose out on the experience part. So
Right,
I think
right.
that was a really good opportunity.
Is that completely sponsored by Qualcomm?
Yes, they do sponsor it. If you are able to complete the course with a minimum percentage, if you don't drop any of the courses, I think they will refund it. It's not a sponsoring at the beginning, but they will be refunding it at the
Okay,
completion of the course.
interesting. Like any other avenues to involve in cultural sense, etc. within the Qualcomm?
Yes, I think in my Qualcomm journey, the Toastmasters Club in Qualcomm that is called Converse it has been a major part. So I got introduced into Converse by the orientation program only. So our seniors who were a part of Converse had come to our orientation and
Okay,
they gave an introduction. So I found that very interesting because I was a very shy person. I was never able to speak up in front of a crowd or even have a conversation with a new person. So I think that helped me a lot to get started in the public speaking journey, and it has been a really important part of my Qualcomm journey now.
okay. Uh, do you aware of any other clubs, maybe writing clubs or some sports clubs within the Qualcomm?
Yes, I think there is a football club, and also I think there are some informal groups to play table tennis and all, and also there was a Zumba class going on, fitness classes. Yeah, and I think there are regional clubs. I know about Kannada Sangha also.
Okay,
Kannadigas had formed one association.
good, good. Balance in Qualcomm, considering a lot
Yes,
of pressure and then deadlines.
I think for a beginner, it's not much of a problem. The work-life balance is good, and also they provide a lot of things inside office, so you don't have to travel for everything. Like you have a gym there, you have fitness classes there, and you
Right.
also have clubs to involve. You have the food, so I think that kind of saves your time in travel. But if you are staying in Bangalore and if you travel daily, I was staying in a PG, so it did not matter much. If you stay in Bangalore and if you travel daily, I think that takes a bit of your time. And as you progress in the corporate ladder, it becomes hectic. So for a fresher, from a fresher's perspective, I would say it was pretty good.
Okay. Says if fresher is trying to give an intro to Qualcomm, like what kind of preparation he or she has to do?
So I would say focus on the resume and the projects that you've done. Focus mainly on the core part of it. So if you are from the electronics and communication background, focus mostly on the processors, microprocessors, and the core part of it, digital signal processing. And also there are RF teams in Qualcomm. So there are two different buildings, the J and the C building. So the C
Right.
building mostly has RF teams. So if
Mhm.
you are interested in those teams, you can focus on the micro antenna, the communication part of it. uh, yeah, microwaves, those things. If you are into the design part of it, and like you can focus on the Verilog and the other things that you have on the resume.
Do you remember some questions from your interview? You 1 or 2
Uh,
is fine.
okay, so in my interview, I was asked about DSP in brief, not much of it, and I was asked mostly on the processor. So we had basic processors in our, we had studied only basic processors in our college. It was 8086 only. So I was asked questions based on that, and also she asked me a bit of optimization. So whenever I explained about pipeline, she asked me how do you optimize the pipeline. So in industry, there is a huge gap in what we do in academics and what is actually done in the industry. The industry processes are way ahead of what we know, like what we had known before. So I think she was asking, how do you optimize and how do you change the microarchitecture to make it better in terms of performance and those things. As a college grad, I was not really aware of those questions, but I tried my best to give answers.
Okay, that was good to know. Uh, like what kind of opportunities Qualcomm provides, especially for women employees? I mean,
Uh,
especially, is there any special encouragement for women from technical background?
I think that is happening. So Qualcomm tries to maintain the gender ratio. So I see a lot of women employed in higher management roles, in director roles, and
Right.
also talking about my internship opportunity, it was the opportunity for graduate girls only. So we gave our interview in the women conference. So I think yeah, that shows the kind of importance they are giving to women.
Okay. Thank you very much, Niharika. It was wonderful speaking with you. Yeah.
Same
Thanks for
here.
joining.
I also thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.